From a bad script to terrible chemistry with his co-stars.
You want me to have them put that in a sippy cup for you?
Jason Momoa has not been having the best time with the upcoming Aquaman sequel. It looks like Aquaman star Jason Momoa is ready to hang up his trident and leave the DCU in favor of a different hero. Reports have surfaced that suggest Momoa plans on exiting the titular hero due to the subpar quality of the upcoming Aquaman sequel. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is slated for release later this year. Rumors have been circulating that test screenings for the project were some of the worst yet for a DCU movie.
Did you steal a boat?
Are the boats at the marina not for public use?
No, those blonde people.
And some viewers even walked out in protest. Insider Jeff Snyder has added fuel to the fire by suggesting that the poor reaction is why Momoa could be taking on another DC character, rather than a second outing as Aquaman in an alleged trilogy planned for the hero. The original 2018 Aquaman movie pulled in more than $1 billion at the box office. But with production issues such as the COVID pandemic and Amber Heard's trial with Johnny Depp to contend with, it looks like Aquaman 2 may be headed for troubled waters.
Nothing.
Of course it's not working. It's been sitting here collecting dust since before the Sahara was a desert.
Snyder took to Twitter in light of the news, writing, "I hear it's terrible, and that's why Momoa is going to be Lobo going forward," adding, "But they can't say that yet because then it would be a lame duck, and DC is hoping to bring another billion out of the box office." Speaking about Momoa's future role, director Peter Safran stated that Jason always thought Aquaman was a trilogy in his own mind.
What is this?
We use this air pocket as an extra layer of precaution. Only the highborns can breathe water as well as air.
But he also loves Lobo. He's been very clear about that too. He's never going to play two characters, but no decision has been made. It looks like the DC Universe is undergoing some major changes in light of The Flash's upcoming reboot of the franchise. However, fans will still get to enjoy movies from the old regime this year, starting with Shazam! Fury of the Gods later this month. Time will tell if Jason Momoa will still be part of DC in years to come. But for now, we can only speculate over what may or may not become of Aquaman and the rest of his cohorts. For those unfamiliar with the character, Lobo is a cosmic mercenary and bounty hunter who tends to rub some heroes the wrong way. He's known for his tough exterior and love of violence, which seems to be a perfect match for Momoa's acting style. This news comes as a bit of a surprise, as it was only earlier this year that Peter Safran teased the possibility of a third Aquaman movie.
Plus, it keeps the animals out. They get kind of messy.
Volko. Here I am, old man. After all these years, you finally got what you wanted.
Given the negative feedback towards Aquaman 2 and Momoa's reported willingness to move on, it seems unlikely that hopes for a third film will become reality. Momoa made a cryptic post back in February over social media, in which he thanked DC Studios leads James Gunn and Peter Safran following some great news with Warner Brothers, though no one was sure if it had anything to do with Aquaman 3 or if it was teasing his dream role of Lobo. It has yet to be officially confirmed whether or not Momoa will indeed be portraying Lobo in the upcoming Superman Legacy, but fans will likely have to hold out until the movie's released before any announcements are made about both the character and Momoa's future. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom hits theaters on December 25th later this year.
Against false kings since the beginning, and for 1,000 years, I have seen the greatest champions try.
But with that said, it's hard to underestimate just how bad the response to the screenings has been. The sequel to the 2018 hit has been receiving terrible reviews from test screening audiences, who described it as one of the worst DCEU films ever.
Broke off and settled here when this region was still an inland sea. When the water dried up, they perished along with it.
Perished? Yeah, that's terrific.
We're getting close now.
Oh yeah? Close to what? Dying of thirst?
close to getting punched in the face.
Look, Fight Club.
Some viewers even walked out of the movie in shock. It was just that bad. Even though Aquaman may have made billions at the box office, it didn't quite win over the critical consensus. It looks like DC is pulling out all the stops to try and make Aquaman 2 a success, trying desperately to fix all the problems that surfaced during test screenings as quickly as possible. For starters, industry insider Casey Walsh revealed on Twitter that there have been significant changes made to the movie's plot and villains. Apparently, Manta was originally possessed by an ancient king with a trident who needed royal blood in order to resurrect his kingdom. Other insiders have weighed in as well, such as Robert Meyer Burnett on the John Campea show. He confirmed that DC is trying to change up a major plot point for the movie, which could have something to do with the goofiness of the film that may have turned off some viewers. He suggested that people would rather report on something being bad than good, and people's view of the movie might not really improve until they can see it in its entirety. Well, one thing's for sure, Aquaman 2 is shaping up to be quite the roller coaster ride. Otherwise, Jason Momoa might just walk out of the DCEU for good. Aquaman 2 is having more than its fair share of drama, both on and off the screen. After the widely publicized legal battle between Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp, many people were skeptical about whether or not she would be able to return for the sequel. But it seems that Jason Momoa was on her side all along, as he lobbied for her to remain in the role of Mira. However, it appears that there was a lack of chemistry between Jason and Amber on set, and when you're trying to make a blockbuster movie about superheroes, it's not exactly ideal. Sources close to the production have confirmed that their differences created an uncomfortable atmosphere, with Amber being unhappy about Jason's deliberate attempts to entertain the cast and crew. She was also reportedly livid when he tore pages from her books in order to get her attention. Even Warner Brothers president Walter Hamada admitted that he was concerned about the lack of chemistry between them, suggesting that they were even contemplating recasting Amber. But thankfully, Jason Momoa was there to save the day and insist that she remain in her role. That could have played a role in why the test screenings for the film were so disastrous. Fans can only hope that the production team has enough time to correct these errors before they release it in theaters. Only time will tell. So, will the film be a success like the first one? It's hard to say whether or not Aquaman 2 will be a hit. On the one hand, it has Jason Momoa in the titular role, and there is still plenty of hype surrounding his performance in the first movie. Additionally, there are some fans that remain hopeful that DC can turn this film around and make it a success, despite the rocky start to the production. On the other hand, there are a lot of concerns about the movie's plot and the lack of chemistry between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa that could potentially turn off some viewers. It's going to take a lot of work for DC to make this sequel into something worth watching, and it might be too late by the time they make all the necessary changes. Whether or not Aquaman 2 succeeds is up in the air, but fans will be watching closely to see how things progress. If DC can manage to pull off a miracle and turn this movie around, then it could end up being a huge hit. But if not, then Jason Momoa could very well be on his way out of the DCEU. And that was the update on the terrible Aquaman sequel.